John. So from all those bullet points, I guess you can feel there's a lot of doing to be had in this matter. It is a matter of doing, not of thinking, listening, and enjoying words. It really is an incredibly telling moment that we're in. So within the title of this event, there's sacred people, sacred earth. The word sacred occurs twice. Well, what does it mean? It actually means held as holy, and that's a verb. You hold it, in something lifelong in holding the earth as holy. And I wonder, should the order be reversed here? Should it be, there is after all no people without an earth? So perhaps it should be holy, sacred earth, sacred people. And maybe there's a process there from actually realizing sacred earth before sacred people can even begin to imagine themselves. So this is, as John was making clear, and as we all know, it is a very dire moment in human history. And not just in human history, in the whole geological unfolding of this earth. A human-influenced unfolding. The Buddha used the words famously, "We are living in a house on fire." Now he was, of course, talking about a number of things at once. He was talking about a mortal body, permanent state of being, a house on fire, but he's also saying we have to wake up. If you're living in a house on fire, you must be aware of that, alert to that. And this is a moment when I think the 3-word slogan we need to hold up in front of our politicians is pants on fire. Because we're hearing nothing but lies most of the time. That very interesting moment in the Extinction Rebellion, I don't know if you saw it, when the pink boat was parked across one of the busiest squares in London, and it said, "Tell the truth." Tell the truth is a powerful start, but there's even an action here, cease telling lies. There's a fire building, I think, on the earth of righteous anger about the rule of mistruth on the earth. So in a world, and reflected in all the parts of our business as usual, there is a very serious misreading going on. A misreading of and understanding of the natural world as if it's about survival of the fittest, taking from the 19th century, early 20th century chant of survival of the fittest. But Darwin, when Darwin used that phrase, he was speaking about survival of the most fit, having the best fit, the best congruence with the circumstances of life and with all other beings. So this is about this moment that the Green Faith moment is about, and all over the world, the ringing of bells, although ours might be a bit delayed. This is about protecting creation, defending the earth, and defending it from ourselves. At the end of a poem, by Rafael Jesu Gonzalez that ends like this. It says, "Awakening to what is. Now we must defend the earth from ourselves with a fierce love." And that from ourselves is very important, obviously. If you can't quite get it, listen to the words of another poet, Robert Hass, who said this: "We are the only protectors, and we are what must be protected. And we are what it must be protected from." And these are all at once. This is the ask of the moment. But even the word ourselves is very important because, we're not just a multitude of individual beings doing little bits and pieces. To say myself, to ourselves, plural. And this is about thinking like an ecosystem. The pandemic is making it very clear. that your life is also my life. And that is the thought of an ecosystem, of every ecosystem across the earth. The sentience of those ecosystems are making it clear that your life, whatever being you are, is also my life. The relational quality here is the very teaching of pandemic. It shows that we're not living in mutual competition and survival of the fittest. It's the time of loud, hairy-chested selfishness and zero-sum game. It's over. It's over. Its use-by date has arrived with a great roar. The thinking of that is that your gain must be my loss, so I can't afford it. That's the zero-sum game. Mutuality in sight in our business as usual as it is presently constructed. And as John's delivery of the statement makes clear, to adjust our relationship to the earth is to adjust every part of the way we do things on the earth and how we consider ourselves on the earth. A complete, comprehensive adjustment. So it's true that organisms eat other organisms, but a close look at any ecosystem reveals an overarching altruism of not the parts, but the whole. And that's created by an overarching conservator relationship, or instinct, if you like, towards maintaining and then rebalancing when it's lost the shared pool of resources. That's how it works. That's how we have been able to be present on that infinite network of mutuality, mutual dependencies, all interlaced. There's a saying, a lot of people are using these days, which is be a good ancestor. And that's like saying be a good custodian of the earth for the short time you're here. The short time we are its guest. And discover how a custodial species might act. And this definitely begins in the shift from myself to ourselves. So it's not about going forth and multiplying and subduing the earth anymore. The vital lesson at this particular painful inflection point of our species history on the earth is probably better understood as grow still, look deeply inwards, and subdue the self, this endless myself. Ideal species is one with the most environmentally destructive power, balanced with greatest of care by the most self-subduing form of intelligence, so that it can see 7 generations back in time, at least that, with gratitude, and acts with 7 generations awareness forward that I would call love and care. So the intelligence that perceives how to moderate itself, even just to survive its own power to destroy a living world. That's what's being called for here. And it just so happens that our continent has the deepest continuous taproot in human time into such a mind. It's called country. And without possibly being able to touch all that implies, I would lean on what the Yolngu people do to describe the nature of life. They say categories of living, living beings. The first they say is all things that move or cause changes. Now that extends to glaciers and rivers, to mountain formation, to trees, to tree roots, to infinite numbers of animate aspects of this earth. The second category is all beings on an equal basis who are born and die. But there is a third category reserved for humans, and that is the human category of living beings is required to have law, L-A-W with a capital L. And that law contains within it, interestingly, the obligation to forgive. So there's something very round in that view of how alive and how interconnected is this country and the example of country that we are the inheritors of, because we're alive on this continent, born here. So becoming a custodial species has to transform our religious traditions, which are largely, let's face it, overwhelmingly human-centered, even species chauvinistic. This is a warning and an invitation, those words of Robert Hass. We are the only protectors, we are what must be protected, and we are what it must be protected from. That's asking for a waking up of awareness that the earth is alive and we are here by its good grace. But this is in those words, which might sound alarming at first, like we're trapped inside a kind of circular system, but in fact, it's an invitation into that more subtle and awake intelligence towards the living quality of this. And I feel that any religious tradition that can't awaken this spirit at the heart of its message and its practice has reached its use-by date, even if it hasn't yet examined the packet carefully enough to notice. So, sacred earth. I see that as the path of discovering more truly what sacred people might actually be, how they might behave, how they would act. Because until the earth is held as sacred by its people, can we presume to use the phrase sacred people yet at all? The moment we're in opens a profound path of necessary transformation. To regard the earth as sacred transforms every single part of business as usual, and even as to regard people as sacred transforms, or would, our justice systems, just about everything about the way humans do business with each other. To go to one last poet, Theodore Retker said, "In dark times the eye begins to see." In a dark time, the eye begins to see. So just to circle back to the acknowledgement of country at the beginning of this whole ceremony, a 60,000 year deep model of seeing sacredness rooted in the mutuality of care between country, if you like, call that environment, earth, and people, mutual care. To tend country is to be tended by country. And so this model exists before our eyes here on this continent. It is waiting on our hearts to begin to open and to see. Let's not keep it waiting.